Indeed, talking about the Samaritan religion does not stop at it being merely a small religious sect, but rather goes beyond that to emphasizing a unique cultural and religious heritage that possesses roots extending across thousands of years. And although the followers of this religion do not exceed 800 people at the present time, the Samaritans represent a living witness to the human's ability to maintain their religious identity in light of great political and social challenges. For the Samaritan sect considers itself a true extension of the children of Israel and carries its own beliefs that distinguish it from the rest of the Jewish sects. For in this video, we will address the history of the Samaritans since their ancient origins, passing through their split from Judaism, reaching their distinct religious rituals, such as the worship of Mount Gerizim, as we will get to know the most prominent challenges facing them, whether they are demographic or social, in light of their lived reality in the Palestinian and Israeli lands. So stay with us to explore this unique and exciting sect that was able to maintain its survival despite the great pressures around it. And do not forget to support us through liking the video and subscribing to the channel so that everything new reaches you. The origins of the Samaritans go back to a very ancient period, as they believe that their history extends for more than 3,000 years, for they consider themselves the true lineage of the children of Israel, and specifically, the people who came out of Egypt under the leadership of the prophet Moses, peace be upon him. And according to this belief, the Samaritans link themselves directly to the prophets of the children of Israel, and believe that they settled in the land of Canaan under the leadership of Joshua, son of Nun, after their exit from Egypt, as they see in themselves the original Israelites who maintained the ancient law that was revealed to Moses. And in contrast, Judaism refutes this claim, as the Jews believe that the Samaritans are not from the original descent of the children of Israel, but rather they are peoples brought by the Assyrians to the region of Palestine after the Assyrian captivity in the year 722 BC, and this view is considered a point of historical and religious dispute between the two sects. However, the Samaritans reject this narrative and see it as part of the attempt to distort their history and identity. And the beginning of the split between the Samaritans and the Jews was when the Samaritans held fast to Mount Gerizim as a holy site for the worship of God. For relative to them, Mount Gerizim is the place that God chose for humanity, and not Jerusalem as the Jews believe. And from here the disputes arose as the Samaritans refused to consider Jerusalem a holy place and insisted on their mountain, which deepened the separation between them and the Jewish sect, which is what led to the building of their independent religious identity. For in the beginning, the Samaritans were considering themselves part of the children of Israel. But with the passage of time, the disputes began to aggravate between the Samaritans and the Jews over doctrinal and ritual matters, for the Samaritans believed that they remained faithful to the religion as it was revealed to Moses, and insisted that they maintained his teachings correctly. And in contrast, the Jews believe that the Samaritans have gone off the correct path and adopted anomalous practices that were not part of original Judaism. The Samaritan religion is characterized by a group of beliefs and practices that form its religious and cultural identity, as it differs from other sects in the interpretation of holy texts and in rituals and worships. And the Samaritan Torah is considered the primary holy text of the Samaritan religion, and it is a version of the first 5 books of the Holy Bible, which the Samaritans believe is the original version that was revealed to the prophet Moses without distortion. And this version differs from the Jewish Torah in some details, and this Torah is considered among the oldest religious texts that are still used until today, as the Samaritans see that it preserves the ancient religious origins more accurately compared to other texts. Also, Mount Gerizim is considered the basic pillar in the Samaritan belief, as the followers of this religion believe that God chose it as a holy place for the worship of the children of Israel. And Samaritan traditions narrate that this mountain witnessed many important religious events, such as the prophet Noah's offering of the sacrifice after the flood, just as they believed that the prophets Abraham, Jacob, and Moses prayed on its peak. And it is also believed that Joshua son of Nun built a temple on the mountain after the entry of the children of Israel into the Holy Land. And for these reasons, Mount Gerizim enjoys a unique spiritual status in the Samaritan religion, as it is considered the main center for worship and religious rituals. And Samaritan worship is characterized by adherence to ancient traditions and simple rituals, as Saturday, the Sabbath, is considered a holy day dedicated to rest and devotion, where the Samaritans abstain from performing any works during this day, and that includes even simple works such as cooking, except what relates to the preparation of cold food, and they spend most of their time in prayer and seclusion. Also, 7 collective prayers are held in the Samaritan synagogue under the supervision of the priest, which reflects the great importance of this day in the religious life of the Samaritans. And some may see that these rituals are strict in an exaggerated way compared to other religions, which raises controversy regarding them. As for the holidays, the Samaritans celebrate several religious occasions, some of which are shared with the Jews, such as the Feast of Passover, which is held on the peak of Mount Gerizim, with the offering of sacrifices in imitation of the ancestors, and among the other holidays are the New Year feast, the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, and the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, where special rituals are practiced for each feast according to the ancient Samaritan traditions. And marriage in the Samaritan community is subject to strict rules aiming to maintain the purity of the religious and social identity. For while a Samaritan man is allowed to marry from outside the community on the condition of the wife's conversion to the Samaritan religion, it is prohibited for the Samaritan woman to marry other than the sons of the community, as this system goes back to the desire of the Samaritan society to avoid mixing with other sects and to maintain its religious traditions. And despite some modern changes that allowed the marriage of men from outside the community, the restrictions imposed on women remain strict to ensure the continuity of the Samaritan lineage within the specified religious and social framework. Despite the strong adherence to their religious and cultural traditions, the Samaritan community faces many social and demographic challenges that threaten its continuity as an independent community, as the greatest challenge facing the Samaritans is the significant decrease in their numbers as a result of social isolation and the restriction of marriage within the community. One of the most prominent social problems facing the Samaritans is the smallness of their numbers in general, which led to restricting marriage to be limited only to the children of the community. And this strict limitation made it difficult to expand the circle of relations and consequently led to demographic problems, as it became difficult for young Samaritans to find marriage partners within the community. And as a result of this restriction, the numbers of Samaritans began to decrease significantly, especially with the passage of time. And, in an attempt to overcome this demographic crisis, the Samaritan community followed unconventional solutions, including bringing girls from Ukraine to convert to the Samaritan religion. And this step aimed to expand the circle of marriage within the community through providing an opportunity for Samaritan men to marry from outside the community, but on the condition that the girl converts to Samaritanism and adheres to all their rituals and traditions. And although this method helped in increasing the number of married people within the community, it was not a permanent solution. And in recent times, the Samaritans took a more flexible step in an attempt to overcome demographic challenges as they allowed Samaritan men to marry from outside the community. But the only condition they imposed is that the wife converts to the Samaritan religion, which is a matter that reflects their strong adherence to their religious and social identity. And while this step may help in attracting new individuals to the community, it raises questions about the extent of its impact on the cultural and religious identity of the Samaritans, especially in light of the challenges faced by mixed marriage. And despite these attempts to overcome demographic challenges, there is still a real fear of the extinction of the Samaritan community due to the ongoing social and demographic challenges. For in addition to the small number of individuals in the community, the social isolation that the community imposed on itself throughout its history made it less able to interact and expand socially with the societies surrounding it. and this led to the community becoming more vulnerable to extinction over time, especially in light of the religious and political conflict in the region. And the Samaritans who live between the cities of Nablus in the West Bank and Holon in Israel represent a unique case of its kind in the region due to their sensitive geographical location and their continuous political and social challenges, for they are a small community but have a long and complex history in the heart of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, where they face daily challenges resulting from their affiliation with 3 different countries and consequently 3 nationalities. For they hold the Palestinian nationality by virtue of their presence in the occupied territories, just as they have the Israeli nationality because of their location within the borders of Israel, in addition to the Jordanian nationality, which was prevalent in the West Bank before the Oslo Accords. And indeed, this geographical distribution makes the Samaritans an exceptional case in the region, as they hold multiple identities and live in a gray area between the 2 sides of the conflict. And despite that, the Samaritans seek to maintain their independent religious and social identity away from active involvement in the political issues that dominate the region. And despite their presence in Palestinian and Israeli areas, the Samaritans maintained a strong relationship with the Palestinians, for they share with the Palestinians their customs and traditions and live with them in the same communities. And yet, the Samaritans generally remain avoiding involvement in politics or participation in the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis, as they see themselves as a bridge for peace between the 2 sides. And in addition to that, the political history of the Samaritans in the region shows that despite the political pressures they faced, their status was recognized by the Palestinians in a period of time. For in the year 1996, the late Palestinian president Yasser Arafat granted the Samaritan community a seat in the Palestinian Legislative Council as a sign of recognition of their historical and religious status in the Palestinian society. And this recognition reflected an appreciation for their special position in the region. However, after the death of Yasser Arafat, this seat was abolished. And the Samaritan sect is characterized by unique customs and rituals that raise wide controversy, especially in light of their contrast with other religions, as these customs and rituals are considered part of the Samaritan heritage that carries within it many characteristics that are still practiced until our present day, and some of these rituals may be considered strange or controversial due to their contradiction with the concepts of modernity. But the Samaritans see in them a deep adherence to their religious traditions that date back to ancient times. And one of the most prominent controversial rituals in the Samaritan religion is the monthly purity that is imposed on women during the period of the menstrual cycle, for in this period, the Samaritan woman is forced into complete isolation from society, as it is forbidden for her to practice usual daily activities, and she is not allowed to interact with others, as this isolation is considered part of the purity rituals that are preserved in their religious traditions, which makes the woman feel distanced from social and family life until the end of this period. And although this custom may be part of ancient traditions in many societies, it raises controversy today in the context of modern equality, where it is viewed by some as gender discrimination that contradicts contemporary principles. And among the other rituals that raise controversy is the offering of sacrifices on Mount Gerizim, which is considered sacred to the Samaritans, as the Samaritans believe that Mount Gerizim is the place that God chose for the children of Israel. And from here comes its sanctity. For in this location, the Samaritans practice the rituals of offering sacrifices, which include the slaughtering of animals and the presenting of offerings. And they are rituals similar to those practiced by the prophets in ancient times. And these rituals may seem strange in the modern era, especially in light of the increasing awareness about animal rights and the rejection of violence against them. Also, the Samaritans practice a special ritual on the annual fast day, which lasts for 24 full hours, during which they abstain from food and drink. And what distinguishes this fasting is that it does not include abstaining from food only, but extends to include abstaining from speaking as well. as this fast is considered among the holiest days in the Samaritan religion and is conducted at the end of October of every year. And some may see that abstaining from speaking in our modern age is considered a strange and impractical tradition, but for the Samaritans, it is considered a means for repentance and drawing closer to God. And finally, despite the Samaritans' rejection of any kind of magic or sorcery, they practice a type of astronomical interpretation that some consider a form of astrology, as the Samaritans rely on astronomy in making some life decisions, as they believe that a person's luck and destiny are linked to their name, their mother's name, and their wife's name after marriage. And they also use Hisab al-Jumal, alphanumeric calculations, and stars to predict future events, which raises controversy among those who see that these practices contradict religious concepts that prohibit astrology and consider them a type of non-scientific speculation. In conclusion, the Samaritan religion, despite the small number of its followers, represents an example of the ability of small sects to maintain their identity and traditions in the face of major challenges. For the Samaritans have been able to maintain their religious and social existence despite political and cultural pressures through adhering to a Samaritan Torah, sanctifying Mount Gerizim, and retaining their private rituals.